Two good friends, Liam and Boris, both 25, worked at Pfizer for the same hated boss, Abramovich. It's a true story. Now, Abramovich, merely to taunt them, said that he'd promote one of them, only one, Liam or Boris, whomever worked harder over the next 12 months, and that he'd fire the other. So he set up an intense rivalry between them this way. Now, they both wanted to be promoted, not fired, so they both worked as hard as they could. Liam was the better chemist and the harder worker. He was going to get the promotion, that was certain. 2 weeks, however, before the promotion was to be announced, Abramovich was found dead, poisoned by chemicals made by Pfizer and that detectives found in Liam's bag, in a vial there. He was convicted of murder. "I'm being framed," he insisted. "I'm innocent, an innocent man." Boris got the promotion. In fact, he took Abramovich's job as well, so he was promoted 2 levels at once. Liam served a 30-year sentence at Rikers and was released at age 55. Boris was still working at Pfizer. He was high up by then, an executive vice president. Liam found his photograph on Pfizer's website. In stealthy clothes, hidden by dark glasses, Liam loitered across the street from Pfizer's head office, recognized Boris as he left there for the night, followed him to the subway, and all the way to his Park Slope, Brooklyn brownstone, where he, Liam, waited a few more minutes and then knocked at Boris's door. "Liam," said Boris beside his wife, Margaret. "Margaret," Liam said. 30 years ago, she and Liam, had been engaged. "It's nice to see you," Margaret said. In the shock of this moment, it was hard to tell surprise and fear apart. "Would you like to come in? We're about to sit down for dinner." It was awkward at dinner. Boris and Margaret, their 3 children, boys, and Liam. Margaret asked, "How does it feel to be let out?" And Liam shrugged. "I never committed that crime. These last 30 years were taken away from me. I've refused these years to make the best of my prison life, of the life I had, for that would have been to accept my life's unfairness, which was something I never could do. So I've waited. I've just waited until now, my release, to begin to live again." Boris, Margaret, and the 3 boys stared at their plates, and Liam didn't know if they'd heard a word he'd said. "I've had no chance to marry someone," Liam said to Margaret, who looked up at him. "Or to have a family, children, sons." The 3 boys glanced at their mother. "Or a career too." And here Liam scowled at Boris, the real killer, Liam thought. "Or even to learn who I am and what I enjoy doing." Margaret had had enough. She interrupted kindly. "We're all so much older, Liam, aren't we?" Liam shouted, "You got to live those years out." And she said, "I guess I wonder where they went, those years, like you do." She was pensive. "But we did okay, all in all, didn't we?" And she smiled at Boris. "We did," Boris said, taking her hand, gripping it. She pulled her hand away and turned to Liam. "The years pass however you spend them, even if you're not in prison," she said. As Liam chewed, his eyes inflamed into a stare. He felt silenced, foolish, and young. The 3 boys, aged 7, 9, and 14, now caught each other's smiles that widened ear to ear with delight. The boys almost began to laugh. There was a snip of cauliflower between Liam's nose and upper lip that had the colour and shape of snot. Liam thought the boys were making fun of his despair, how he hated these children. Boris, too, smiled at the cauliflower snot, the slither of vegetable. Liam hated Boris too, the killer, and Margaret, he hated her too, that she'd take Boris's hand right here in front of him. She's still as self-absorbed as she always was, as sensitive to other people, Liam thought. Boris said, Liam, you look like you're still in prison. You're free now. Am I? Yeah, cheer up, Boris said, and Liam shrieked. What the hell is so funny? Do you think this is a goddamn game? 30 years of my life, gone, taken from me for something I didn't do. You sit there laughing at me like I'm some circus act, like I'm some kind of joke, like I'm less than a man, while the real monster walks free. He is looking at Boris as he says all of this. Then he directs his hatred at the boys. You think you're better than me? Life's going to chew you up. One day it'll crush you, you little punks with stupid little grins. Boris intervened. That's enough, Liam. They're kids. You don't get to take your anger out on them. Liam shouted, That was my promotion. You killed Abramovich, didn't you? Admit it now. You took all that I had for yourself. These boys, they could have been mine. This could have been my family. Margaret's my wife. This could have been my home, damn it. Ours, Margaret. He grabbed the steak knife by his plate, a knife that over years he'd learned to use in a deadly way, in front of Margaret here and the children. Liam was sentenced to life in prison, this time without parole, but this time he'd chosen his path. At least that, he was in prison for something he'd done, a killing he didn't regret. If he couldn't have Margaret or these children, Boris shouldn't either. At least Liam felt now that he deserved to be locked up, and so he could feel more joined to the other inmates and become involved more in prison life. He thought, I'm not getting out, so why not? He died, sadly, at age 58 from an acute pancreatitis.